Hello and welcome. So today we will be doing the day 24 challenge of Advent of Cyber 2025, which is about the exploitation with cURL or cURL. Let's just read out the story and figure out what's actually happening. So as you can see over here, they are saying, according to the blue team intel, the wormhole is held open by a control panel on the Evil Bunny's web server. The team must shut down first to cut off reinforcement before facing King Mel here. However, the terminal they have is bare, no bulb suit, no browser, just a command prompt. We will use only the cURL tool. So what exactly they are saying is, let's say there is an infected device we have, and the evil bunnies have a web server or web panel where they have made connection from where they are doing the malicious activity on the infected device, and this is what we call the wormhole. So what we will be doing is to hack into the web panel or web server, and after that we will close the connection of the wormholes so that the malicious activity to the infected device will stop. Let me just show you something so that you will understand it more better. As you can see this stuff over here, so let's just take example that this is the TBFC, one of the compromised or infected device, and this is the web server of the evil bunnies, right? And this is the wormhole from where they are sending the malicious command and stuff to this device. So if we click over here on this is what the wormhole looks like. As you can see over here, this web panel is extracting information and data and files from this infected device. So our challenge is we will somehow exploit this and get access to this thing, and then we will stop the wormhole. Once we stop the wormhole, it will look like this. So there will not be any connection then, right? I hope you understand this. I just made this for you guys. So let's just move back to the TryHackMe and continue the challenge. The learning objective of this is to understand what HTTP requests and response are at a high level, and we will also understand the cURL to make basic requests like get and post, and we will also work with cookies and session in cURL to maintain like to stay login basically. So for that we will just start the attack machine, and we will also start the target machine, and then we will just click over here to just move to the task 2. Alright, so we are in the task 2. So before the machine starts, let me just tell you about the HTTP requests and browser and stuff. So normally when you open a browser and want to search for any website, so what happens is that your browser acts as a client and the website acts as a server. So you type the website name and then you press enter, and then you click on that website. So what happens is your client or browser in this case send a HTTP request to that web server, and as a result you see all of the resources that is available on the page you are visiting, like text, images, and all of the stuff that's present on the page. So the language that the browser and the web server speak between each other, it is what we call the HTTP or hypertext transfer protocol. We also have like HTTP different request method like post, get, delete, and we already discussed these in previous challenges. So simply when you want to visit a website, you use the get method, and when you want to, like let's say you are filling a form or sending a login, you use the post method. So in our case in this story, what is happening is that there is the web panel as we discussed above, but we don't have access to any browser or any GUI tool that we can use to visit the website directly. We have only the command line or terminal. As you can see, we will use only this, and we will use the cURL. As you can see over here, this is the command line tool that makes the HTTP request, and this cURL let us to view the responses and also send the request to the web server. Right, so let's just copy this command and paste it in the terminal, and I'll just explain what this means. Let's just close this one and open another terminal. Let me just make it big so you can see it clearly, and then I am just going to copy the command. So what this command does is the cURL tool just send the get request to this specific URL or web page. This is where the web panel is at. So I'm just going to press enter, and let's see what we get. See, we have successfully made the get request. We have also received the response. As you saw, we have successfully made the get request to this server. Now after that we will also try to make the post request to this server. For that we will just copy this command, and let me just copy this and paste here. So what this does is we have actually added the -x and also post. By default, when we just type curl, it makes the get request, and when we want to use a post method, we specify the -x and post. And let's say we are, over here there is a login page where it needs username and password. For that we just use the -d. By that we mean the specifying the data, and the data we means is the username is user and the password is also user. So let's just press enter and do the post request. As you see, we are getting the invalid credential. This is because there are some more like buttons or some stuff over there on this page. So to make this work, we will just use this command instead of that one. What we added actually the same as this one, but we just added this thing, as you can see over here, extra. So this will just make the credential work. Let me just press enter and see. So what's happening over here is that we are trying to log in to this page, but we are using the wrong credential basically. This is why we are getting the invalid credential error. So we just get this small response, not the actual detail one. So seeing the actual detail response that the server sent, for seeing that we will use this command. Let me paste it here, and we just added the -i. The rest is the same. Let's see what we are going to get. This is what the server response looks like. So we made a HTTP request, and this 200 says that the request was sent and received, and on this date and this time. The server is using the Apache server, this version, and the operating system the web server is using is Ubuntu. And we also see the content length as well as the content type, which is the text/HTML. There is no image or stuff like that, and we are still getting the invalid credential because we are using the wrong credential, right? And after that we will just cover the using cookies and sessions. So what is cookies and sessions? Okay, let me just give you a simple example. Let's say you go to any website that asks for login, like let's say social media, and you can take any social media as an example. So when you go there on the social media platform first time, it asks you for the credential, username and password, and when you enter that, you can then use all of the feature of that social media platform. Let me just give you an example of Instagram. Let's say you are first scroll, you log into it, and then you just scroll a little bit, and then you click on the inbox. You want to send a message to anyone, and after that you just click on the reels tab. You want to see some reels. So all of these action, like moving from the feed to the inbox and from the inbox to the reel tab, they just don't ask you the password again and again, right? Have you ever wondered why they don't ask you again and again? They use cookies and session. So once you log into their platform, they use cookies to remember you that this person is logged into our application. So when you go from the feed to inbox, this is like moving to another page, kind of, you can say that. So they won't ask you. Instead they remember the cookies and see, yeah, these cookies are valid, and they just know that we don't need to ask this user again to log in because the cookies are valid, and we just move directly to the inbox and instead of logging in again. But since in this challenge we don't use the browser do the same story as well, the same stuff as well, but since we don't have the browser access in this challenge, the curl tool does not do this automatically. So what we will do is we will use the -c in this command, and we will send to this web server whatever cookies this server send us. It will store the cookies in this cookies.txt file, right? And after that, what we will do is to use the -b to specify the cookies that we just got from this server, and it will just don't ask for these username and password again. They can just know that, yeah, these cookies are valid. We don't need to ask the user to log in again, right? So let's just copy these and paste here. This is because we are using the wrong credential, I guess. Now let's just do also this command. As you can see over here, we tried to use this credential and we did not get our valid cookies for this web server. So in the second command we use those cookies, but in the file there were not any valid cookies. So this is why they are saying over here is to first log in this page, and then it will just store the cookies over here, and then we can use those cookies to use to do the stuff on this web page. And then we will just discuss the brute force attack using the call. So brute force attack is basically like you have a bunch of random password in a list. So you have a bunch of random password in a file, like let's say passwords.txt in this case. So how does it work is that we use this random password on, let's say, this page, and we just kind of loop each of the password to test it out that which one is correct and which one is not. From here any of the password is incorrect, it just skip it and move to the second one, and let's say this one is correct, it just move to this one, and this one is also incorrect, and then it checks this. If this is the correct one, it just logs in. And now in this case, as we can see over here, they have given us a shell script, as you can see. So what this does is it reads the password from this list, and then in this line it just use this password to log in. And over here, as you can see, we use the call -s. Let's just make the login in a silent mode, and then let's say if there is any of the correct password, we just search for the welcome term in the response, in the HTTP raw response. If there is, it will just print us out that password is found, right? And then next we have is bypassing user agent checks. So if you remember this Splunk tool that we used in one of the previous challenge, so let me just explain the user agent. So when you made a request to a web server, just also check not just the request that you are sending to the web server, but also the web server checks that the request I am getting is coming from which agent, like a Firefox, Microsoft browser, or it's just a curl bot, or like any scraper that just scrape information. So it just check it out. So some of the website and web server block these kind of bots and scrapers. So bypassing the user agent checks that like telling the web server that we are the real person. We use this -a to specify the custom user agent. In this case, we are just saying the internal computer, or let's just check it out with the -a and without the -a. Let me just copy this and let's see. Yeah, we got the response. Now let's just do this, the response from the web server, and over here I just saw that this one was forbidden because they just blocked the curl. So using the -a over here, as you can see, it just bypassed the user agent checks. And after that we have the bonus mission, which is totally optional, but let's try to do it. They are saying that do the brute force attack on this URL, and we will use the rocku.txt for the password only. Basically rocku.txt has so many, like a bunch of random passwords. As you can see over here, we have this much passwords in the rocku.txt. These are all taken from the different breaches. Now they are telling us that the pin of the password is between the 400 to 500. So we will just specify this over here. To do this challenge, we will just use this shell script and do the brute force attack on that given URL. Let me just create let's just first do ls if it's there or no. If it's not there, so we will just use the nano and do keep, and we will just type loop.sh. It will just make the shell script file, and after that we will just copy this. This is exactly the same stuff, both of them. So now what we will do is, first of all, we will just change the password.txt to the rocku.txt. So let me just show you where the rocku.txt is. So the rocku.txt is usually in this place, but if it's not there, we can download it from the internet. As you can see over here, we can download from this GitHub and a bunch of different sources. So let me just press enter. You see right here, this is the rocku.txt. So we will just copy this path specific. Let's just write rocku.txt. So as you saw here, the rocku.txt file was. Let's just specify the path. For that we will need to remove the password.txt, and after that what we are going to do is, and we also need to change this URL. So let's just copy this one and exchange it with this one. Let me just quickly do it. We pasted that as well. When there is a correct password, we will just echo some more term instead of the welcome. So we will just try to use the pen term or token or authenticated or like correct. Let's just also change this, and I think we are done with it. Let's just save it by pressing Ctrl X and then Y and then press enter. And we need to give this shell script executable permission so that we can execute this permission. So for that we will just use this command as well, change mode of this shell script to also have the ability to execute. Let's just paste here, and now we can just run this shell script. It will just try to find the password for this page. Let's just run the script. As you see, we are doing the brute force attack on this to find the exact password for this. So it's just checking password one by one. We need to actually wait for this, but you see how it's done. So I'm just stopping it over here, and then we can answer this question, right? So let me just press the Ctrl C, because it's just totally optional challenge, so I just show you how it's done. So the first question says that make a post request to this/post.php endpoint with a username admin and the password also admin. What is the flag you receive? So what we will be doing is, let me just clear the screen and make a post request. Let's just type curl and then x and then specify that we are doing the post request, and after that, as you said, use the username admin and also the password as admin, and then they said make a http request to this .php IP and paste it here, and also this endpoint. Yeah, I think we are good now. We will just add that over here. Let me just paste it, and then yeah, let's just see it. As you see, we made the post request to this specific endpoint, and we also got our flag. So let's just copy this and we'll just paste it over there, so we can move to the next question. Okay, the next question is make a request to the cookie.php endpoint with the username admin and the password admin, and save the cookie. Reuse the saved cookie at the same endpoint. What is the flag you receive? So we will use the same command, but we will just change the endpoint and also need to add the cookie thing to save it, php, and then let's just go over here -c, and we will just store the cookies that we get from the web server in this file. Let's just check it out. We have got the cookies and it's saved in this file. Now what we are going to do is reuse the saved cookie at the same endpoint. What is the flag you receive? Now we will be using the saved cookie, making the request to the same endpoint. So we will just remove this credential and this T as well, and we don't also need the post request because we already got our cookies. We'll just use this, and also we need to remove this C and add B to use the cookies. See, we have saved the cookies and then we also use and got our flag. Let's just copy this, paste here and check. Okay, the next question is, after doing the brute force on the bruteforce.php endpoint, what is the password of the main user? We need to use this exact script for that. Let's just copy this and let's just make another shell script. Let's just call it bruteforce.sh and then paste the content. Make sure the endpoint is correct as this one. Let's just copy this, and we also need to give it the executable permission. So for that we will do this change mode to also add the executable permission to this brute force shell script. Yeah, we are good now. We can just run it. Okay, we also need to save the password from this list. Let's just do nano and passwords.txt and paste the content and also press Ctrl X and then Y and enter. Then let's rerun it. See over here, we got the password, a secret pass. We can just write it here that the password we got is secret pass. Yeah, and now it's just asking us to make a request to this endpoint, the user agent tpfc. What is the flag you receive? So we will type curl and then we will use the -a. Remember this just bypasses the user agent checks, and then we will specify the User-Agent TBFC, and they are saying to make the request to this endpoint. So let's just type http://10491832. This is basically the IP of the machine, and then just enter the endpoint. See, we made a request to this endpoint with the User-Agent TBFC and got our flag. Let's just copy this, and now we can also click on this one. We can just move to the task tree, which is about the conclusion. So it's just a simple text saying that we closed the wormhole that we were working on, and we also completed the whole series of these challenges. So you can read all of this yourself. I'm just going to click on the check, and yeah, we have successfully completed all of the 24 challenges. Actually, I have not uploaded all of them. I do have recorded, but I need to just edit them a little bit so that I can post them. It was a great challenge. We have made so many videos on it, learned so much. And if you have made this far, hope you win some of the great prizes that they are going to give. Okay, I will see you in the future videos, and till then, take care.